from the very beginning after we lost the other night, the biggest thing to our team was that if we were going to spend a lot of time worrying about bouncing back, then we were going to waste a lot of energy in trying to get better. And I'm proud of the way these guys responded from a very tough loss the other night, one that they know that we squandered opportunities inside of the game, and Illinois came back and played well, but we squandered those opportunities. And all we've been focused on the last few days is making sure that we got better. And that's hard to do sometimes when you have the ranking. And again, we've never really been down this road. We had it once with Butler, but then we turned around and we played at home. And you get that ranking back, and then you lose the game, and there's all kinds of emotions and thoughts going through your head. And the tough ones, they figure out that it's all about improvement. And that's exactly what our guys did, and they were able to carry that in today. We knew we were going against as physical of a team as we would have played at this point. We knew we were going into as tough as an environment as we had played at this point, and Ohio State is the real deal. And they're the real deal because they have a front line, they're the real deal because they have a backcourt, but most importantly because they absolutely get up into you defensively and make it hard to score. And we had to be sharper, we had to have better edge, we had to take care of the ball. And we're coming off 2 games where the opponents had scored a total of 48 points off of our turnovers the last 2 games, which is unacceptable. And it's one thing to be unacceptable to a coach. It's a whole other thing when it's unacceptable and owned by the team. And I think they've done that. And to have 4 and 6, whatever we had in the 2 halves, and keep the thing at 10. But a lot of good basketball from a lot of guys. The game plan was followed. And it wasn't just a coach's game plan, it was the players that really, really addressed everything throughout the game and kept the confidence getting higher and higher. And again, in an incredibly tough environment against an excellent team, an extremely well-coached team. You all know that, but I mean, it doesn't go without repeating when we study these guys. Really good and really well-coached. Good.
Tom, where did this game separate? What was the difference? It was tight for a while, and then towards the end of the first half and into the second half. What did you guys do?
I'm not sure, without looking at the film, exactly what but the key was pace. You know, I think one reason Ohio State's so good is because Aaron sets the pace for them, and he wants to set the pace for the other team. They want to control both ends, and they're very good at it. And we couldn't let the pace get away from the way we wanted it to be, and we couldn't let. We just couldn't hand over the pace to Ohio State because they know how to win, and they know how to win here, and they know what they do best. But we also have to know what we do best. And when you go on the road, you've got to do the best job you can possibly do to not play differently than what you do at home. You know, and our guys did that today. So they really never stopped moving. We never stopped running, and we never stopped getting that ball into the paint, whether on the drive or the post up. And I go back to your. When there could have been opportunities for us to settle for jumpers, we didn't. And when they got big buckets, we came down and we matched it. And I think that gave us tremendous confidence in the first half.
Tom, I doubt you spend a lot of time worrying about player of the year races and things like that.
Yeah, I really don't. But I got a couple of great players though. But go ahead.
With the way the Victor thing has been relatively new the last couple of weeks, what he gives you on both ends, something like today, worthy of putting him in that conversation. Now, you referenced both of them.
Well, I'm not. I read other coaches and I read what they talk about their players, and I feel, am I not doing enough? And we're trying to focus so much on the team. And then I'll hear, well, they've got the best backcourt, and they've got the best defensive backcourt, and they've got the best front court. At the end of the day, we're trying to have the best team. But you don't have the best team if you don't have some outstanding players. And I would say today, we got a lot of really good basketball, but Victor Oladipo, Cody Zeller, and Christian Watford played as well of a triangle, 3 guys there that you could get, because it was on both ends of the floor. So I'm not gonna change my pace on. I'm not into the promotion aspect. I think if we keep winning and they keep doing what they can do, it's better. I feel sometimes like I have to defend them, especially Cody, and I wouldn't trade Cody. And I think if you polled most coaches in the country, they'd like to have Cody Zeller on their team. And I think most would probably like to have Victor Oladipo as well. So when you have a couple of guys like that, they can keep getting better on both ends of the floor. That speaks for itself.
Coach, it seemed like the matchups changed an awful lot during the game. What were the priority matchups that you wanted to be sure you had as often as possible?
Not going to really discuss that because we play them again, but I would say that you're right, that the matchups did change because the coverages did change. And they've got players that you can't, I mean, Deshaun Thomas played 40 minutes. And really didn't look tired at the end. I mean, he's an excellent player. And so you've got to keep bringing different looks, different people, and different coverages to a team as good as Ohio State.
Coach, you talked the other day about not being able to put a team away.
You're the one who told Bob about that with the guy in the door, too, weren't you? Yeah, I knew. See, he heard it. So go ahead.
Talk about the fact that you were able to do that, how you were able to do that, and what that might work for you in the future after this.
What was the first part?
Putting a team away.
Okay. Well, it's consciousness. It's consciousness of it. We know we didn't do it the other night. They knew. And it's one thing to talk it as a coach. It's another thing to see it on film, but it's a whole other thing when they absorb it. And they absorbed that we got away from what we were doing. And tonight, it wasn't me it wasn't me reminding them what we were doing. It's when we went back to practice on Thursday after a meeting and after the film, we went straight to how do we close games with 5 minutes. Because it's something that we work on. And again, as a coach, the night of the game, part of my anger and being upset is we spend so much time in this. How can this happen? But then you realize they're young men. I mean, they're in tough situations, and they're going against other young men in those deals. But I mean, you can't ever take for granted that they just get that this is how it's supposed to close out. You know, there's got to be those reminders. But at the end of the day, the best reminders are when they're reminding each other how it closes out. And I thought we did that in practice, and I thought they did that today.
Tom, you talked before the game about the importance of getting the ball inside. Mm-hmm. When Amir got 2 fouls real quick, did you emphasize it even more?
No, we didn't emphasize it anymore. We just kept emphasizing it throughout the game. It wasn't just because of the foul issues. We really needed to get the ball in the paint, and even in Cody's case, he had some drives, you know, which he can do. It was very important that ball hit the paint because our statistics, when they hit the paint, are extremely high, percentage-wise. And when the ball, I mean, we did the best job, all Big Ten, of feeding the post today. You know, statistically, the stuff that we keep. And it wasn't just feeding the post, it was getting the ball in the lane, and it was getting the ball inside out. So that never changed. And there were very few instances where we took quick jumpers before that ball touched the paint, whether off the dribble or off the pass.
Tom, shorter bench today, was that by design?
No, it just worked out that way. Just feel. Not at all. And they had obviously had a plan for Jeremy when he was in the game. And now Jeremy's on that scouting report. So he's got to take the onus now of understanding that there's got to even be more one-on-one ability defensively. And I think he'll get that. That's the next step now that he's played some minutes. Derek, I thought, came in and gave us some solid minutes. You know, really, I was trying to read them. And a couple of the coaches doing the same thing. Let's read them because we don't want to be over-fatigued at the end of the game. We felt it would come down to the end. And we didn't read that fatigue. So I thought our conditioning was excellent. I give Janae Jackson a ton of credit and Tim Garl a ton of credit for keeping them healthy. And so it wasn't by design at all and could change by the next game.
Hey, Tom, what can a signature win on the road do for a team, even a team that's ranked number 1?
What do you mean today?
Getting a win
win?
on the road.
Well, it hadn't happened in how many years, JD?
13.
Indiana hadn't won a game against a top 10 opponent on the road in 13 years, so that's a big deal. Of course, JD told us 20, so these guys are going to come in here and tell you 20. So they're not bragging; they just got misinformation. But it's a big deal. But it's not. It's not just beating a ranked team. Ohio State is really, really good, and we have at times not had the firepower to be able to compete with them. And then last year, as we were getting better, we didn't have the toughness to compete with them in here. But that's all part of the growth process, and they're growing with that, and it's a big deal. We have tremendous respect for how they play. I mean, they're the real deal with the physicality and their ability to play inside out and control pace, and they do an excellent job.
Last question, Dustin.
Well, we'll get to it. I saw Pat.
You mentioned about having to defend Cody. I think that's maybe from an assertiveness standpoint. Some people say he hadn't been assertive enough at times. Was there a need for him to step that up in this game vis-a-vis the Illinois game? Or?
Probably, but no, I think the defending is more I think what I've learned about this year, and not been through it like this, because Dwayne Wade, when we had him, he really, he wasn't getting the Sports Illustrated covers till the end of the year. Cody started the year with one. I think when you have a player like Cody, what you learn is that the expectation level for him is going to be different. And it's going to be different with the media. It's going to be different with the public. And the thing that you can't ever do is buy into what an outsider's expectation level is. You got to make sure that he understands what his expectation level should be versus, or in line with what ours is. So the biggest thing for him and is his improvement. And people see now, if they don't see how hard he works over his right shoulder with his left hand. They don't see how hard he works on his free throws. They don't see how hard he works on his pick and roll defense because our practices are closed. I mean, we're doing those things all the time. But that young guy is young, okay? And I say that with capital letters. He's still a very young guy who's had a lot thrust upon him expectation-wise, and he is completely focused on getting better. And there's some things that he does as well as anybody out there, defensively and offensively, but he never walks into the building, okay, whether our practice court or those film rooms, thinking that way. And he's got to continue to understand he needs to think more that way because he really is that good. But he's such a great teammate, and he's been raised on winning so much that he really wants his teammates to have the ball, to be in position to be successful, to make buckets. And I don't think it's any accident we got 21 wins with him now and 27 wins last year because he's got that kind of attitude. Go ahead, Dustin.
I was actually just going to ask about getting the ball in the paint. So
go ahead.
Well, actually, Christian today.
It was very important that he got it. Very important that Christian, Christian shoots a really good percentage from three, but Christian shoots a much better percentage from the foul line. And it's important that we get both. And I always tell him, he gets fouled, it's 2 points. And those 2 points add up in a big way, and it gets us in the bonus that much quicker. And part of the real focus with the two of them was we couldn't come in here. I mean, Wisconsin came in here and didn't shoot free throw, right? I mean, you have to come in and you got to make that whistle blow a little bit to make sure that you're getting to the foul line. Because Ohio State is very physical, but they do it for the most part. They don't commit a lot of fouls. They don't commit needless fouls. So we had to force the action a little bit, and you can't just do it with one guy. But we were able to do that, which got us in the bonus a little bit quicker, but the right guys were getting fouled at the right times, and Christian's one of those right guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.